Okay, today I'm going to talk about marriage. And in particular, why you as a Catholic have to get a prenup agreement before you enter into your marriage. Why? Well, first off, you might say, but King St. Louis Enjoyer, prenups are forbidden by the Catholic Church. You can't get a prenup and be a Catholic. That's not exactly true. So first off, it is true that a lot of prenups are forbidden or rejected by the church as being conducive to a valid marriage because they operate under the assumption that the marriage can end. You know, that the parties involved believe that it is possible to dissolve a valid marriage, that they believe in divorce. As Catholics, we do not believe in divorce. Divorce is not a thing. The only way that two people who were considered married in the church can be separated lawfully is if they were never actually married in the first place, if their marriage was invalid. Because in that case, it's not that there was a marriage and then the marriage was ended, but rather that there was no marriage to begin with. It's just that the couple was operating under the illusion of being married. So that's the first part. If your prenup agreement understands that and acknowledges the fact that there is no such thing as divorce, that the only way a valid Catholic marriage can end is if one of the parties dies, then your prenup agreement is not going against the church. That's what the church is concerned about when it is worried about prenup agreements, is the idea that the couple, they expect that the marriage will end, or they think that's a possibility. And, they're like planning for it. You should not be planning to divorce your spouse. If you are in grave violation of church teaching. You are not a Catholic. You need to repent and you need to submit yourself to the judgment of the church, and be in communion with the Holy See and all of their teachings. As a Catholic male, you must understand that when you get sacramentally married and you have a valid sacramental marriage, the only way that this marriage can end is with the death of you or your spouse. There is no other condition possible for that marriage to end. Even if the wife leaves you and gets a civil divorce, it means nothing, because the civil divorce does not invalidate anything. The government saying you're divorced doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. Even if she thinks it does, even if you think it does, it doesn't. So, if your wife still divorces you, you're still married to her. You're still married to her, and you cannot remarry. You cannot, find a new wife. You cannot have, sexual relations with another woman. You cannot do any of those things. You must live your life as if you were single. Maybe try and reconcile with her. It's unlikely given, Freud's. But, you're still married to her. So, when I say get a prenup, you have to get a prenup with that understanding of, there's no such thing as divorce, that, I'm intending to be married to this woman for, as long as we both live, and that the only way our marriage ends is with one of our deaths, and that even if she civilly divorces me, that doesn't mean that we're not married. We're still married. And even if she remarries and divorces me civilly and acts like we're not married anymore, I must still behave like I am married to her. That doesn't mean you have to, interact with her at all, if she leaves you. But it does mean that you can't, be with another woman, because that would be adultery. Our Lord is very clear about this. The church teaching is very clear about this. So when you make a prenup, that must be the caveat that you understand. The reason I am telling you that you need to get a prenup is not for, you know, any of the bad reasons that I just described about expecting the marriage to end and thinking that it's possible to get a divorce for a sacramental marriage. What I am saying is that you need to get a prenup to protect yourself from the evil that is civil divorce, from the evil that is hypergamy, and just the evils of modernity in general. Modern marriage is despicable. It is utterly repulsive and utterly unappealing to men for several reasons. One, the hypergamy and the insane standards of women, the fact that they're all ran through by the time you get to marry them, the fact that women are so easily corrupted by feminism, by hypergamy, the fact that and perhaps the biggest reason in particular regarding marriage is the fact that no-fault divorce and divorce court, family court, is ridiculously biased against the man towards the woman. We all know the thousands upon thousands of stories of men losing everything in divorce court, of their wives taking their kids, taking their house, taking all of their assets, leaving them destitute. We all know how ridiculously biased family court is towards the women. We know how hard it is for a man to keep custody of his kids. We all know these things. I don't have to convince you. If you're watching this video, you probably know all of this by now. And if you don't, you're either living under a rock or you're a dishonest leftist piece of shit who pretends like these things aren't real because, you're a liar and it's beneficial for you ideologically to deny this, to deny that this is the reality because it goes against your ideology, because it goes against your political ends. I just want to say, if you're a leftist watching this video, fuck you. First off. Second off, you should change and repent. And I do want you to go to heaven, but you are scum right now. That's okay. We're all sinners. We're all scum, but, you're more than most, and you really need to change. Okay, you really have to change. Anyway, what was my point? Oh, yes. Modern marriage gives a wife every incentive to divorce you, and it also makes it impossible for you to exercise proper male headship. Because male headship means, being in charge and being in charge no matter what, being the final authority no matter what. Even when your wife disagrees, even when your wife doesn't agree, doesn't like your decision, doesn't like what you have to say. But if the wife can leave you, even civilly, because she doesn't like, what you're commanding her to do, or she's unhappy with the way you're treating her, or she decides that you're not Christ-like, she'll make up whatever excuse she wants if she gets the urge to leave you for whatever reason, because she found another guy, or because she wants to, sleep around, or because she's not into you anymore. She will find whatever excuse she needs, okay? And it doesn't matter if, she's a Catholic girl, and, Catholics aren't supposed to believe in divorce. Women will, they just won't care. They'll apostatize. They'll make excuses. They'll rationalize. They'll make justifications. You can't rely on, it's a sin to stop them. Maybe you could in the past when there was real social pressure against these sorts of things, and, it was seen as a societal evil. And, it was a source of great shame that basically ostracized the people who did it from society. Social pressure that, keeps them in line. But the opposite is true now. They're celebrated for this. This is considered virtuous for women to do. Women leave their men all the time, and they get praised for it by other women and by a lot of men. Especially if they claim, however falsely, it doesn't matter how false it is, all they have to do is claim, oh, he was abusive, oh, he was controlling, oh, he was misogynistic, he was narcissistic, he was this, he was that. they will still praise them for it. They will still celebrate them for it. They will make excuses for that. It doesn't matter. So no, she's a Catholic. You know, hopefully her being a Catholic and her being devout, you should try and marry a devout Catholic, or at least a devout Christian who believes, in the sanctity of marriage and is, you can convert her to a Catholic. Hopefully that puts her against it, and hopefully, she never does do this because of her religious faith, because of her devotion to God. But that's never a guarantee, and you must be prepared for that to happen. How many devout Christian girls have done this? Many. How many fake their devotion to rope in some idiot Christian guy to marry them, only to show their true colors after? Like Nala, for example. Why are you calling her out? Because she's a fraud. Okay? Sorry. I can't know her heart, that's true. Maybe it's deep down somewhere a genuine, conversion. But if there is, she's showing absolutely no signs of it at all. And there are many women like that. If it looks like a fake Christian, it sounds like a fake Christian, and it acts like a fake Christian, it's probably a fake Christian. Just a thought, Nobody gives his charity to men. Nobody looks at a man who doesn't act like a Christian and say, oh, well, what if he's actually a Christian and he's just, you just can't see it. And I don't think we should, by the way. I don't really think that's a good standard that we should apply. That we should just believe anyone who claims to be a Christian is a Christian unequivocally, uncritically. We should hope that they are, but, we shouldn't trust them blindly like that. For men, and especially for women. But regardless, even if she's, a devout Christian girl, you'd be surprised how quickly women will switch up when they decide they want a new man. It's happened many a time. You cannot rely on it. You can hope, and you should hope, and you should pray, and you should work with her so that, her faith keeps her from ever desiring to do something like that. But you must be prepared for the possibility that, she says to hell with her faith. Women are like that. We all know this. Let's not be idiots here. Let's not be naive. Okay? So yeah. You're getting a prenup to protect yourself and your kids. Not just your assets. This isn't just about the money. Though it is part of it. Because, if she has an incentive to divorce you and to take your kids, civilly, then she can hold that over you, and you can't really lead her because you always have you always have the sword of Damocles hanging over your head of, oh well, if I push her too far, if I make her do things she doesn't want to do too many times, she'll divorce me, she'll leave me, she'll take my kids. She'll take everything. And she knows that, and she can hold that over you. And I'm sorry, but I don't trust women to be virtuous enough to not do that, especially nowadays. In previous times, perhaps, but nowadays, women are so vile, so evil, so selfish. You really trust them? You really trust them to not hold that over your head when they have every incentive to, from the government, from the culture, even from many so-called Christians, and yes, even professed Catholics. There are a lot of Catholics who, they aren't really Catholic, but they encourage this kind of behavior because they're libtards. Do you really trust that she's not going to hold that over you? And even if she isn't holding it over you, there's always that fear that one day she will, right? And so that severely impacts the man's ability to be the head of household. I believe that's one large reason why fathers are so impotent now, is because they're afraid of taking charge, because they know how the system's rigged, and their wife knows how the system's rigged. And so they have to put themselves in this submissive position just to hopefully prevent them from being fucked over in divorce court. And they always live in fear of, of her. They always live in fear of her. There are so many stories of men who know their wives are committing adultery, who know that their wives are violating the marriage bond, and do nothing about it because they do not want a civil divorce. Because they want to keep their kids, they want to keep their family together. And they just think, oh, well, the best thing I can do is shut up and just pretend like it's not happening. And, that way at least my kids will still have their father. At least my kids will still have their father in their life, and I won't lose everything I've worked my whole life to build. And, I won't have my life destroyed. This is a humiliation that I must endure in order to prevent the complete loss of everything. That is the decision that many men are forced to make. And even if she's not committing adultery, the possibility is always there, and the fear is always there, and it always limits your ability to properly lead. You want to be masculine, you want to be a leader, you want to be a so-called, misogynistic, patriarchal piece of shit or whatever. You want to be a biblical-based dad. You cannot do that if you are in a marriage where you have no protections and she has all the protections, where she has every incentive to divorce you, to hold that over you, to threaten you with it. If you keep bossing me around like this, I'm going to divorce you. It creates a chilling effect. Because you always have that sword. Secondly, you have to do this for the sake of your kids. If she divorces you, and she will take your kids, she will take your kids, okay? She knows that's where it hurts most. Women aren't as stupid as they might seem. Yeah, they're stupid, but they're smart enough to know how to hurt somebody, okay? Their realm is the emotional. They know how to damage someone emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. That's maybe the only thing, aside from, reproducing, that they're good at. They understand that taking the kids is the ultimate humiliation, it is the ultimate emotional injury, and they will, in their vengeance, do that to you. They will. And the divorce court is so biased in favor of them, they will get the kids almost always. The chances that they don't get the kids are so low, you really cannot bank on it. You should not bank on it. You must be prudent. Prudence is a virtue. It is the ruler's virtue. It is the husband's virtue. God does not want you to be imprudent and stupid, especially when your kids are involved. If she takes your kids, you will not have them in your life at all, or basically not much, right? She takes the kids, they'll be raised by their mother, which will be disastrous for them. It will be disastrous for their earthly life, for their ability to move up in society and have a nice life and, be married. It will be disastrous for their faith. It will destroy their faith in God. It will cause them most likely to apostatize, because you really think the wife is going to be a good example of Catholic virtue, when she's divorced you and taken the kids and done all this, and it was probably having sex with another guy. You will not be there to educate them, to lead them, to give them the vital spiritual instruction that they need. They will most likely, as we see all the time, fall into crime, vices like drug addiction. If they're girls, they'll probably end up pregnant very young to a guy who isn't married to them, and if they're boys, they'll get themselves thrown in jail or killed in some ridiculous crime or drug addiction. And in all of those cases, where would their souls probably go? Nowhere good. Nowhere good. You owe it to your children to prevent that from happening. You owe it to them to safeguard them from that fate. If you do not do so, you are failing as a father. You are failing them as their father, as their spiritual, their main spiritual advisor, as the example of Catholic manhood in their life. You are failing them. You owe it to your children at least, to save them from that. So if the asset stuff, doesn't convince you, which, yeah, I mean, to be fair, that stuff isn't nearly as important. But don't ever let someone gaslight you and say, oh, you really care about money that much? This stuff is important and you are entitled to it, and to have it stolen from you is evil. You are not wrong for wanting not to be robbed. I mean, imagine you get fucking robbed, someone steals your purse or your wallet or whatever the fuck, and you have people telling you, oh, but you really care about money that much that you're upset that someone robbed you, or that someone might rob you. Oh, you really want robbers to go to jail? You really care about money that much that you'd be willing to imprison someone for taking your money? That's ridiculous. We would never accept that argument when it came to that. So why is it any different when it comes to divorce? The reason why the standard is different is because it's a woman doing it. And when a woman does an evil thing, it's good. And when you protest that the woman is stealing from you, you're the problem. Bullshit. I reject that. And I'm not gonna let anyone gaslight me, gaslight me about that, and you shouldn't either. Do not let them do that. But even if, the material concern was not a problem, was not a real concern, the children are. The children are the highest concern. They are the most important concern. Because if you get a valid Catholic marriage, you're going to be having kids. Unless you're infertile. If you're not having kids, something is wrong. Unless you're in the Josephite marriage, which almost none of you are. Okay? Let's be real. Almost no one's getting a Josephite marriage, okay? If you're getting married as a Catholic, no, you're not getting a Josephite marriage. Unless you're in extremely rare circumstances. So as a result, you should be having kids. If you're not, then you're on birth control, or you're not doing things that are ordered to life, or you're, just not engaging in the act at all, which in almost all those cases, that's just straight up sinful. And, that's a problem. So you're gonna be having kids, and you owe it to them. You owe it to them temporally, and you owe it to their eternal souls, their precious eternal souls, which God crafted so lovingly, and with so much care, and with such a fervent desire to see them in the beatific vision with him forever. You owe it to him, to them, to yourself, to your own salvation. Just think about how God will judge you if you let them be damned because of this. Think about how he'll judge you. He gave you stewardship over these kids, and now they're in hell in large part because of your bad decisions. Do you really want that on your conscience? Do you really want your beloved children to be separated from you forever in heaven? Or, in hell while you're in heaven? Do you really want God's beloved children to have their souls damned for all eternity? Because he entrusted them to you, and you failed him, and you failed them? No. You owe it to yourself, to your children, and to God to prevent that from happening. So, to recap, you need a prenup because you need to protect your children and what is rightfully yours from the wicked, satanic abomination that is civil divorce, from the horror of feminism, and from the wickedness of the modern woman. You cannot trust your wife, Christian, Catholic, or otherwise, to not divorce you. And even if she never holds it against you, even if she really does, even if she's a saint, really a saint, and she, never, ever even considers holding divorce against you, she never divorces you, she never, she always submits to what you command of her, no matter how difficult it is, she doesn't complain, she doesn't ever divorce you, which almost certainly your woman is not going to be like that. You always will have that fear. You always will be holding yourself back as the husband, as the father, because you always have that worry of, what if she does? What if she changes? I can't take that risk. You must, you must protect yourself. It is not a sin to protect yourself from an unfair and biased system, All the people who tell you, you should never get a prenup, you should never get a prenup. Well, where are you condemning no-fault divorce? Where are you telling women, that you can't, that it's not right to enter into these partnerships where she has such an incentive and such an advantage to betray you and to, violate your rights and all of this stuff? They're very quiet on that, most of them. And even the ones who are outspoken on it, at the end of the day, it's still the law, and she still has that incentive. So if you are getting a prenup because you expect the marriage, like you expect to divorce her civilly, and you expect to make your marriage end, and you expect that, and you believe that one day you will go and you will remarry, quote unquote, you will get married to someone else, then that is wrong. And if you're getting into a prenup for that reason, I do not support that, and I do not encourage that, and you should not do it, and any good priest should reject that prenup wholeheartedly, because that is not right. The only reason I'm telling you to get a prenup is to protect your children and your assets from civil divorce, from the culture, from the government. That is what I'm saying. I've laid out my position very clearly. If you say that in the comment section, you are a liar, you are not paying attention to what I'm saying, you do not understand my argument, or you are misrepresenting me. In which case, fuck you. Lying is a sin, and you should stop that. I know I'm aggressive, but it's just, you cannot make yourself a slave. Slavery is a choice. It is not a sin to protect yourself. It is not a sin to be prudent. Prudence is what God wants from you. He does not, he reviles the current state of affairs more than anyone. And it's sad that this is necessitated, but that's, this is what you must do. This is the prudent thing to do. It's the moral thing to do, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, which I have explained in detail already, and I'm not going to repeat. So if you're a Catholic man, don't let anyone gaslight you and tell you that, you're evil for wanting this, that you shouldn't get this. As long as you are following the conditions which I have laid out just now, as long as you are only doing this so that if your wife decides to civilly, if and when your wife decides to civilly divorce you, you can protect your rightfully earned possessions, you can protect your children from her corrupting influence, from the evil of divorce, and from, becoming damned, then what you are doing is good and righteous and just, and you ought to do it, and you're a fool if you don't. If you're already married as a Catholic and you didn't get a prenup because, you want to trust your wife fully and all of that, look, I'm not going to shit on you, that's... I really hope you're right about her. That's all I have to say. And I know people who are in these situations, dear friends of mine, and their wives seem good. They seem like decent women, but people change, people can change, and you never know nowadays. And, you know, I'm worried about that. I do worry about them. I'm concerned, you know, but I do trust their judgment. These are smart people. They're my friends. I love them. And I wish them only the best. And I pray that their marriages are strong and healthy and good. But, man, I really, really hope that they're right about their wives. I really hope. I hope everyone, you know, has a good wife. You know, in the best case scenario, the prenup is not necessary at all, right? But remember, the most common thing that a man says when she leaves him and she takes the kids and he takes the assets, you know what he says? I never thought it would happen to me. Do not be that person. Do not, you know, do not be the guy who is saying, I never thought it would happen to me. Take your own side. Take your own side. Take your kids' side. Take the side of your kids' immortal souls, so precious and pure, entrusted to you. You know, God entrusted them to you, a Catholic man, not to a Muslim, not to a Hindu, not to a Protestant heretic, to you. You have an obligation to safeguard their souls by any means necessary. Because that is the ultimate good. There is no better good than the salvation of souls. There is no better good. There is no greater love. There is nothing more important. Nothing more important. People will try to gaslight you. They will try to say, oh, you don't trust your wife? Well, yeah. I guess so. Whatever. You can't trust any woman in these times. It's the sad, sad truth. Okay? You know, I'm a hopeless romantic type. You know, when I was a kid, all I ever wanted was a storybook, picturesque marriage, romance thing. But we don't live in times where that's possible. And maybe it was never possible. But at least back then, if she tried to civilly divorce you, her life would be ruined, you know? She would be socially ostracized. She would have all of these penalties. You know, the clergy, which controlled everything in Europe, would, you know, revile her and demand that she change. And, you know, she would have every incentive to repent. She has no incentive to repent. Because most Catholic clergy won't even really, like, convict her of her sin. And if they do, well, she can just stop going to Catholic Church or just ignore them, and it has no effect. Well, a lot of the time, they aren't even denied communion. Which they should be, obviously, but at the time they aren't. We've all been in Catholic parishes. We all know how it goes. We all know the state of things. Okay? We all know. We all know. You can't rely on that. So let's war game what I'm saying happens if you follow my advice. You get a prenup and she tries to civilly divorce you. You know, hopefully, if your prenup is good and all of your, you know, T's and Q's are in order and everything's good, she's unable to take your kids, and hopefully she's unable to take most of your assets. She leaves, she goes and, you know, remarries, quote unquote, or is, you know, on the, you know, sleeping around or whatever, which is, you know, the same thing as being remarried in this context. You know, she's out of your life. Hopefully you can reconcile. Hopefully she can repent and change her ways. It's unlikely. It's unlikely. It's probably not going to happen. Let's be real. Let's be real. We can hope that it happens, but let's be real. It's probably not going to happen. What do you do? Well, now, hopefully you have custody of your kids. And, you know, you have all of your assets, and you can just live like you did before you got married. Before you know, married this abominable demoness. and hopefully you can raise your kids right, despite the difficult circumstances, and you can be a good Catholic father to them, and despite everything, they can be good people and saints, which is far more likely to happen in a single father home than in a single mother home. Single fathers are way better for the kids than single mothers in every way possible. And they'll have far better chances of becoming saints and escaping hellfire if they're under your care and not their mother's. What you should never do is initiate a civil divorce. Never ever initiate a civil divorce. And if you're going to use your prenup as a reason to do so, then I go completely against that, and I do not support that, and you should never do that. Do not do that. But again, the overwhelming majority, almost all of divorces, civil divorces, are initiated by the woman because the system works for them. It does not work for you. The government is not on your side. The government hates you. The government hates you because you are a male and because most of you are white and because you are a Catholic, okay? This system was designed specifically to destroy Catholic marriage, destroy sacramental marriage. That is what it's made for. Which means that it's designed to target Catholic women, Christian women. Those are the women that it's designed to make betray you. It's not like her being a Christian is going to be a strong safeguard against it. It might be. Hopefully it is. I hope it is. But, it's designed to get them. So, that's what the 1948 Middle Eastern nation-state individuals, people who belong to that group, people who founded a country whose prime minister's last name rhymes with Net and Yahoo. Ooh, almost slipped up there. I don't know how strict YouTube censors will be. I don't really care about that, honestly. I just want to get this out in like a video format. But you know who I'm talking about. That's who those people and that's who the Masons wanted to target. That's what they wanted to destroy. That was their goal. That was the point. Okay, so you are not a sinner for protecting yourself and for protecting your children's souls, and don't let anyone, Catholic or otherwise, convince you otherwise. Don't let your wife persuade you out of it. If she tries to persuade you out of a prenup, leave her. Okay? Break up with her. Don't marry her. Find another girl. Got it? Because if she's a good woman and she understands the evil of feminism and divorce court and all of these things, she will, agree, and she'll say, yeah, this is a good thing. You should do this because, I have all of this evil incentive to betray you because of civil divorce, and, you need to protect yourself, especially if, because I could be corrupted someday, right? If she loves you, she will understand, she will go with it. If she's against it, that means she's planning on leaving you, or she believes that she might leave you, or that might be something she might want to do in the future, okay? So that's a great litmus test as to whether or not you should marry a woman, is if she wants, if she wants and is okay with you getting a prenup. As long as all of the above conditions that I mentioned about what makes a valid prenup are met. Got it? So you should actually use that test. And do not let her manipulate you into not getting it, okay? If she tries to convince you not to, she's doing it because she believes that she might have need of it in the future. Okay? And if you're marrying a woman who thinks she might need to divorce you in the future, you are marrying a witch. You are marrying a vile, vile bitch, and you should not marry her for the sake of your soul, for the sake of your life, for the sake of whatever children may result's souls. And for the sake of her soul, too, because if she initiates a divorce, well, that's on her soul. Her soul matters the least out of all of this, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you know, I mean, she brought it upon herself. But, you know, if you can... It's better that she remain unmarried than get married and then have that sin on her, right? You know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care that much. But, you know, I mean, I do care about her soul. You should care about her soul. But, you know, your kids' souls, your soul, they're more important. Okay? That's just the truth. If you're mad about that, deal with it. You know, I'm not trying to be hostile, okay? I'm actually a nice guy. I don't know, I get fired up about this shit. You know, if you disagree and you're respectful about it and you're not like misrepresenting my point and trying to argue that I'm a bad person, like, you know, I actually don't have anything against you. God bless you. God bless you and your family. You know, I wish you the best, and if you're not Catholic, become Catholic, and if you are Catholic, you know, maybe consider what I have to say. You know, I think I'm a pretty smart guy, you know, not to brag or not to be like arrogant or anything, but you know, I do my best, which admittedly is not very good, because, you know, probably the worst Catholic that's ever lived at practicing my faith, but you know, I try. So yeah, you know, I'm not trying to be like mean to you guys, like, you know, God bless you. If you're watching this video, if you've gotten this far, God bless you, God bless your family. You know, it's okay to have disagreements. I'm not, you know, infallible, I'm not the Pope, I'm not Jesus Christ. But I think I'm right, and I really think you should take my advice. And I believe you owe it to your children and to yourself, and even to your wife, to do so. So, yeah. If you get with a girl and you want to marry her, and you say, I will not marry you without a prenup. We have to get a prenup. If she says, yes, okay, that's good actually. It's good that you want that. It's good that you desire that. It's good that you're protecting yourself. This is good. I fully consent. I agree. Let's do it. Let's do it. Or if she's at least like, okay, I accept that, even though I might not be fully happy with it, I would prefer you not to, I will submit, and I will accept it, and I will be okay with it. That's good. That's good. Obviously, the first case is better than the second, but the second one is still good. Like, you can still marry a woman like that. But if she says, you know, oh, you don't trust me? Oh, you're hurting me. You don't trust me. You don't believe in me. You don't trust me. How could you? How could you just show that you don't trust me and that you don't want me, you don't believe in me? She's manipulating you. She's manipulating you. Okay? She believes that there's a possibility that she might need the prenup in the future. And that's why she wants it. Alright? I mean, it's the same principle of, you know, if you're doing nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide, right? Which I know that principle is used by, like, the government to justify unlawful surveillance, but, like, that's not what I'm talking about here. You know, like, you should, you know, I mean, you should understand. If you don't get it, I can't really help you. So yeah, don't let her manipulate you, okay? If she doesn't want the prenup, get another girl. Okay? And if you're too attached to her to leave her, then to leave her before you're married, then that is disordered, and you really need to, you should not marry her, okay? If you can't live without her, you shouldn't have her. Right? Like, it's like Spider-Man, you know, Spider-Man told Tony Stark, without this suit, I'm nothing. You know, and Tony Stark, what'd he say? If you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. I know that's kind of Reddit, And I kind of hate Marvel, not gonna lie, but like, you know, it's a good example, and I'm pretty sure most of you have seen that movie, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the prenup. If you're a Catholic male, you owe it to yourself to do it. Okay? It's unfortunate that this is necessary. Okay, it sucks. But we live in an age of abominable moral corruption and despair. We live in the dark ages. This is the age of despair. This is the age of sin. This is the age of death. And you must be at war with the world. You must safeguard your soul now more than ever. We do not have the luxury. We do not have the luxury of lukewarmness. We do not have the luxury of living in the Middle Ages when everyone was Catholic and everyone was, you know, enforcing Catholic morality, and, you know, the church could fucking kill you if you weren't, you know. Sadly, those times have long passed. Sadly, we live in the inversion of that era now. You are not a sinner because you are prudent. You are a sinner if you're trying to justify divorce using prenup, which again, I've been over. You already know my argument. You already know I'm not advocating that. Yeah. Get a prenup, okay? Make sure it's in accordance with Catholic teaching on marriage, right? Like, as I said. But get a prenup. Get a girl who wants you to get a prenup. That's the goal. I know it's hard to find, but they're out there. You know, look, I don't fully trust my girl because I don't fully trust any woman because they're women. And I am extremely misogynistic, and I live, you know, in this day and age. I'd be an idiot too. But when the subject of prenups was brought up, her first response was, you know, you need to get a prenup. I don't want to marry you. She literally told me, I don't want to marry you if you won't get a prenup. You need to get a prenup. You need to be protected. And I was like, I fully agree. That's exactly right. I told her I wouldn't want to marry you if you didn't want me to get a prenup. And she told me, absolutely, you know, I'm really glad you said that. That's the attitude you have to have. You know, ideally you should get a girl like that. They're extremely rare. You know? Sad but true. It's acceptable to get a girl who is like, well, you know, I don't really think you should get a prenup. And, or rather, sorry, more like, you know, I kind of disagree, and, you know, I wish you didn't get a prenup, and I'm a little hurt by the fact that you want a prenup, but I will submit to you, and I will accept it, and I will comply, and, you know, I do understand what you're saying, and it's okay, and I still love you, and I'll still marry you with a prenup, and, you know, all good. And of course, the specifics of what your prenup should be, like, it should be something like, I'm gonna be honest, right? She should get nothing if she civilly divorces you. Okay, she sinned, she initiated the divorce, she deserves nothing. Not a single penny, not your kids, jack shit. If she wants your money, she needs to come back to you. You know? What? We cannot, none of this 50-50 bullshit, okay? She gets nothing, you keep everything. If she wants to keep the money, she can't divorce you civilly, you know? Do not provide any incentive, no matter how small. Do not reward sin. Do not reward sin. Do not reward sin. How do you think Jesus Christ will look on you on Judgment Day when you're rewarding her sin? Even a little bit. Even if you're not letting her take everything. Oh, you only let her take $500,000. Yeah, that's okay. You only incentivized her to divorce you by allowing her to have $500,000. Yeah. I'm sure Jesus will look at you on Judgment Day and go, "Oh yeah, great job, bro. Yeah, that makes sense. Good job, smart." Okay, Don't be that guy. She should get nothing for trying to destroy your life, for trying to, condemn your kids to a single parent household, and all of the evils and spiritual dangers that associate with it. She should get nothing for slandering your reputation and insinuating that you're abusive or wicked, or you treat her terribly. She should get nothing for rewarding your service and love and hard work towards her and building a life with her and committing to spending the rest of your life guiding her and shepherding her with this. Do not reward her. That's the problem, is we reward evil in women way too much, and it only incentivizes them to do it. So, when you get a prenup, you keep everything, she gets nothing. And if she thinks that's unfair, find a girl who thinks it is fair. Okay? It doesn't matter if you love her. That's fucking stupid, okay? Get over yourself. What are you, 12? The only one who actually loves you is Jesus Christ. No woman will ever truly love you. That is the pill that you must swallow. It's sad, okay? It's sad, but it's true. And if you act otherwise, you are setting yourself up for a world of hurt. The only time a man will ever be loved is in the beatific vision. The only one who ever actually loves you is God. He loved you before the world existed. Before there was anything, he saw you in his mind's eye, and he loved you more than you could ever imagine. And he's the only one who ever will. So, find a girl who is going to ensure that your kids and her, can be saved. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is important. Doesn't matter how hot she is, how she makes you feel. I mean, ideally you should have all of those things, of course. But the top priority is, what I just said. That is what marriage is. It's a vocation. It's what's supposed to get you to heaven. If she will be an obstacle to that in any way, it is imprudent and wrong for you to marry her. Doesn't matter how much you love her. It doesn't matter how wholesome and sweet she is. It doesn't matter, how badly she may want you or whatever. This isn't a game, okay? This is your eternal soul. This is your chance at theosis, at divinization, at being united with, the eternal Trinity, of being a partaker in the divine nature, of fulfilling the purpose for you were created. If you are damned, you are a failure. You failed at the purpose for which you were created. You will forever be an unthing. You will forever live an unlife. It's, utterly unacceptable for you to settle for anything that could even risk compromising that. And so, get a prenup. Get a girl who wants you to get a prenup. And do not let her manipulate you, and if she tries, get another girl. I don't care if you'll be lonely, get over yourself. You'll always be lonely if you're a man. Do you understand? If you're a man, you will be lonely until the day that you die. That's the truth. You will get flowers at your grave, and nowhere else. It's a hard truth, but I'm not in the business of telling you what you want to hear. I'm not in the interest of placating you. I'm in the interest of hopefully helping you save your soul. And anyone who isn't, you know, isn't assisting you in that or trying to, they're your enemy. They're the enemy of your soul. They're your enemy. And you know, you can love them, but you cannot trust them, and you should not take their advice. And you definitely shouldn't marry one. That's for damn sure. So that's my rant. I hope you guys liked the video. I know I was a little bit like angry and aggressive, and again, like I have no ill will towards you guys. I really like all of you watching this video, and you know, even if you disagree, like just don't misrepresent my argument. Like that's really the only thing that I'll like be angry about, is if you misrepresent me and try to say that I'm saying something that I'm not. I've been very clear about what my position is, and you know, if you misrepresent me, then you're either not like properly paying attention, which means you shouldn't be like passing judgment on my video anyway, because you don't understand what I'm saying, or you're lying, in which case, you know, you're sinning and you're calumniating me, and you know, that's just evil. So yeah. You know, I'm praying for all of you guys. I know it's tough out there for us men. It's always been, but especially now. And I understand, you know, it's scary, okay? It's very scary, but remember, no matter what happens, even if she takes everything, follow God's commandments. Trust in the Lord, trust in God, so that even if you have nothing, you at least have your soul, and you at least have Him, because He's the only one who loves you. You know? Nobody else died on the cross for you. So, you know, God bless. And, you know, hopefully you guys have long and happy marriages. And, you know, Lord have mercy on us all. And remember, consecration of the Sacred Heart coming up very soon. Very exciting time. Wonderful, beautiful time to be alive and to be Catholic. Exciting things are coming. Hopefully, you know, Jesus Christ grants us the grace that we so desperately need, and we can turn this country around, and we can create a future where this isn't necessary. It's possible. We used to have it. We had it once. We can have it again. But we must be ready. We must be willing and ready to fight for it. So, yeah. You are not a sinner for being prudent. Prudence is the king's virtue. And as a man, you are a king over your household. Jesus wants you to be prudent. He expects you to cultivate it. That is what marriage is, for a large part, is to cultivate prudence. Because it is the highest power that many men, most men even, will ever have. So, yeah. Get a prenup. Make sure it's in accordance with Catholic teaching, all the things I said. And if your girl doesn't want you to get a prenup, dump her. She's not the girl God wants you to marry. There are other fish in the sea. And if you are faithful and you put God first and you focus on the cultivation of virtue, He will bring a good woman into your life for you to marry, who will want you to get a prenup, and who will, you know, be beneficial to your life and to the life of your children. So God bless all of you watching this video. May the Lord Jesus Christ watch over you and guide you in everything. May you join or remain within His Holy Catholic Church. May you subscribe to all of her teachings and to this YouTube channel, which, you know, I would never knowingly teach anything that I knew to be not in accordance with Catholic teaching. You know, the original name of this channel is Right About Everything. It's not that I'm right about everything, it's that the Catholic Church is right about everything. And like I said, nothing I said in this video contradicts Catholic teaching. I've been very clear on that. So God bless all of you, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.